with B-Bad and Brandon.
Cool.
Welcome. Here we are. We're live. Well, we're not live, but we are recording.
We're recording live.
We are recording. I think so. Anyways, welcome to the show. Probably one of the greatest powerlifters Australia's ever produced.
Yes.
One of the strongest people, definitely. Oh man, I think you'd be the strongest and you could argue you're probably the best powerlifter we've ever produced just because of your longevity in the sport. You've been around for ages now.
Mm-hmm.
I should also probably announce that it's Patrick Morrison I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Welcome.
everyone knew that already from that intro.
Yeah,
I don't know if I knew that from the intro. Maybe they thought it was Odell. I don't know.
Well, he doesn't compete anymore.
No,
Yeah.
he doesn't compete anymore.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're competing at Capo Nuts.
I was going to compete at Capo Nats, but I've decided not to compete this weekend because I have some assignments due for uni.
Oh no!
They're just going to have to take priority.
Yeah, look.
Damn it! Because I'm coming down for Capo
That's
Nats. We've
pretty
got a little
fair,
bit of a crew kicking on, and one of the highlights I've been telling everybody for my gym is like you have to watch Patrick lift. And they've all been watching your videos, and if they haven't, I've forced them in front of them to see what kind of insanity you can pull at a comp. But that's okay. They can watch more of your Instagram.
I think Open Men are on Saturday. Look, if I really have to, I could message BJ and just say, "Hey, can I just come compete Saturday?"
Yes.
I'll just weigh in on the day.
Yes.
Look, I'll
I'm
think
sure.
about it. I'll think about it.
Yes.
This escalated
Yes.
from I can't compete. Uni takes priority to, bro. You got to do what the people want.
Yeah, but do you know why? It's because it doesn't take much for me to procrastinate from doing my assignments. Yep. So, any
we got you. Well, you need let's call it a 6-hour study break on Saturday, is what I'm hearing, and I think this could be your study break.
I think I operate well under pressure, so maybe that's the time away from studying that I need to get.
Yeah,
done.
I thought uni students just do everything last minute anyway.
Yeah, I absolutely do. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my small brief stint at uni, and I was like, "Oh shit, day before, let's go."
Yeah, that's been my entire degree up until this point.
What are you studying, man?
I'm doing a Masters of Physiotherapy. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a 2-year postgraduate program.
And you did your bachelor's in physio?
No, so I have a Bachelor of Nursing.
Yeah.
So I was a registered nurse for, I think, maybe 5 years, 6 years. And then around COVID, I just decided to stop nursing and then decided that I'd go back to uni 2021, picked up some topics, and then transferred into the master's program.
Yeah, cool. And has that always been, obviously, you were a registered nurse for 5-6 years, you said. Was that always the plan to get out of that and into something more like, I mean, for everyone who watches your socials and everyone who does know you, like you've been a powerlifter for a while and you've been in the industry, obviously coaching out of the strength lab now. And was that always the natural progression for you to step away from nursing and into more coaching?
Well, my long-term plan when I first went to uni, I actually have a little plan that I wrote down, and I found it not too long ago, actually. My original plan was to do my Bachelor of Nursing, and then I wanted to always do like a Masters of Physiotherapy. I had this stupid plan. I don't ask me why I had it, but I had it. And I was going to do the Masters of Physiotherapy program immediately post my nursing degree. And I was like, well, I can work as a registered nurse, like part-time, and then do my Masters. And then the long-term plan after that was just to do post-grad medicine after I'd been working as a physio for a little while. Because I was like, I just want to get as much experience to become, so that way I can end up focusing on, sports medicine in particular.
Yep.
But then through nursing, I was just like, the first couple of years of the degree, I was like, yep, definitely going to do post-grad med. I was getting really good grades. My GPA was really high. And then third year hit, and I was just like, fuck med. Like, honestly, it's just a lot. Like, I spoke to a lot of interns, and like with the amount of work that they do, the amount of hours that they put in, I was just like, it just doesn't seem like it's worth it. Like, you're getting hammered, you're studying for like 10 years, and my plan, which I thought was like an amazing plan, was going to be more like a 13, 14 year plan. And I was just like, I'm not sure if I have that in me to be able to work 50, 60-hour weeks for that long, studying and all that sort of bullshit that came with it, and I just decided not to do it.
Yeah, it's a big commitment to go from a bachelor's degree into full-time work into then studying masters, man. Like that is hectic because I don't think people really like take undertaking uni is pretty much a full-time job.
It is, yeah, like especially the master's program in at the moment, it's like the study commitment is relatively high.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I'm on placement 5 days a week, but even then prior to
Wow.
that, all of our topics run in blocks. So rather than like a normal uni semester, we just get hit with everything either over a week or 3 weeks. So it's like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and then you'll have
Damn.
lectures to go watch when you're at home before the next day.
Damn.
And
How have you
you're looking at
how have you structured your coaching around all that? Because that's man, like that gave me a headache trying to even think of how you do it.
And you're lifting, not to mention, because you're still fucking strong.
well, I've gotten. I would say I've gotten still managed to get stronger over the last few years with studying full time.
Yep.
But with the way that Strength Lab operates, we run like a group strength training, and our classes are like so it's like an hour group strength training session. Most people do 2 to 3 sessions a week, and
Yep.
so I'm only in the gym really for like an hour to 2 hours in the morning until 7 or 8 a.m. and then in the afternoons from 5 till 7. So I'm only in the gym face to face with people for about 4 hours a week. Oh, not 4 hours, 4 hours a day. Sorry.
Yep.
That's 5 days a week, kind of. And then I have like my online coaching stuff that I operate on. I do all that stuff on weekends, so usually Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
And then I just fit all the studying around that. So, like a normal day for me, for example, it's Monday. I got up this morning at 5 o'clock. I went to the gym. I worked, and then went home, got dressed for uni, saw my kids off. They left, caught the bus to school. I get in the car. I drive to the city. I have placement. I come home, and then I'll study after this, and then go back to work this afternoon, and then do it all again tomorrow.
Okay, well, on the back of that,
and you've got kids in there as well, bro. You are a weapon.
Yeah, on the back of that, number one, thank you so much for making the time. And two, I feel bad for taking your time now. Like, that's crazy, bro.
No,
Holy.
honestly, it's fine. It's a lot to manage. It sounds like a lot, but
Yep.
It doesn't feel like a lot
Yep.
when you're doing it. You just always feel like you're not doing enough. But I think that's just, I don't know, a part of that drive and a part of that, wanting to excel is always feeling like you're not doing enough. So when you tell people and they're like, man, that's a lot, it's always good to just like reflect and be like, well, actually, when you say it's a lot, I guess it is.
Yep.
It's just part of what you know.
Yes. So you're just a very organized human with everything. Do you map everything out weeks, months in advance so you can work a schedule and a roster for your life essentially and fit everything in? Is that how you run it?
Look, like I said before, I procrastinate a lot. So it's a combination of like having a to-do list that I write down everything I need to get done each day and then trying to tick all those boxes. I generally do have to be fairly prepared. It doesn't always work out because that's just the way that life is. Some things just, are out of our control. But yeah, I generally try and have like the same set schedule, same training time. I know that the kids can get themselves to school, like they catch the bus to school, they catch the bus home. The only time like it ever gets thrown out of the way is just if one of them's at school and like they need to come home sick, or if they've gotten in trouble and they've been suspended, or just doing shit that kids do.
Yep.
So yeah, fairly organized. Yeah.
Have you?
And how do you go? How do you go? Where do you fit your training in all of this for yourself? Because like we said at the start, you are elite, like beyond elite. And I see you training on the Instagrams there. Where on earth do you fit it into that schedule? And has your second question would be, how have you changed your training so it can fit what you do at the moment?
Yeah, so I train 3 days a week. So I train on a Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And that's just because Tuesdays and Thursdays I generally have maybe like an hour to train. So I can get like, you'll see my deadlifts. Like I post my deadlifts. Like my deadlift session will generally take about 50 minutes to do. So I'll get in, I'll warm up, and then from like the bar to top set. So for example, I think last fortnight with my heavy deadlifts, I pulled 370, and that's maybe 15 minutes. And then I'll move on to my accessory work, but I only do like 4 to 5 exercises in a workout, and I just don't rest. So like if
Yep.
I'm loading the bar, like if I'm doing deadlifts, I just go plate, plate, and I just load the bar, do a set, load the bar, do a set. The only time I rest is like my last warm up before I do my top set. Then I'll rest,
Yep.
and I'm only doing like 2 sets of deadlifts, right? So
Uh-huh.
the main thing that's changed over the last couple of years with training is just volume is like significantly lower and intensity
Yep.
is ridiculously high. So
Yep.
it's not something that I would really
And
recommend for most people. Like
mm,
unless you have this, required skill to actually perform and get the most out of an exercise, like you're just not going to be able to
yep.
manage it.
And I guess
Yep.
that's where you like again going back to we keep saying, and I fear that we've boosted your ego so much here, but you are the elite of the elite, so your skill level like it's up here, so you can get
Yeah.
away with that. 2 sets, very high intensity. Have you had to look at the recovery side of that though, like the intensity being that high?
Um, Not really, not yet. Um, like from a recovery point of view, I'm usually good to go every week. I think
Yep.
the only thing that I've changed because I'm prepping for the WRPF meet, the
October
Nightmare on
Nightmare.
Boulder Street. Yep,
Yep.
yep. So at the moment, I'll just alternate like my deadlifts and squats.
Right.
So like I'll squat heavy one week and deadlift heavy another week, and that's only
Mm.
because it's just just in case. Like I don't feel fatigued. Like I very rarely get DOMs.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Yep.
That's
yeah.
really fucking. That's actually quite impressive, considering just your life and obviously the chaos, not the chaos, but the controlled chaos that is going to work, study, kids, and managing all that, and that you can really hit those top numbers and maintain, and as you said before, still progress. I think people take for granted what they can do in an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And the thing is, realistically, I could probably get away with doing 2 sessions a week because one of my training days is literally like I'll go in, I'll do some front squats. Well, I'm not doing front squats at the moment because I hurt my shoulder. Um, but like I'll just do like a secondary squat day.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
session again is like maybe 50 minutes. And that's just getting some accessory work in that I wouldn't usually have time to
Yep.
do on the other 2 days.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
That is
And
brilliant.
was this a trial and error sort of system you've sort of created for yourself for training over the last couple of years with how busy you've been with everything?
Initially, to be honest, it was
Yeah.
um, like I started off doing 5-3-1,
Mm.
uh,
Yep.
just really just as like a someone had said that 5-3-1 wasn't an effective program, and I was just like, "Fuck you! What would you know?" Um,
Yep.
I didn't say this to the person, but I
Yep.
just went out of my way to be like, "Well, actually, it's highly effective when applied correctly."
Yep.
And I was making some really nice progress, and
Yep.
then I just decided that, well, actually, I don't really have time for this. So what I'm going to do is just cut out the two like waves prior, and then just hit that one top set.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's
End of
kind
the.
of what I just did.
So, man, essentially, your training's fun all the time because you just do heavy stuff.
Yeah, and obviously, like it's not
Yep.
always singles at the moment. It's like a lot of
Yep.
singles, but it'll be
Yep.
like probably like a triple. But then my back off set is usually an AMRAP. So depending on
Oh,
if
yep.
I'm hitting like a top single and then like an AMRAP, I'm usually only going to hit like 3 to 5 reps on a back off set.
Yep.
And if I'm hitting like a top
Yep.
triple, that's looking at anywhere up to like 10 reps. But
Yep.
I
So
usually
what we're seeing,
keep my
this is the
low.
beginning of the Patrick Morrison system, 610, or we'll give it some sort of cool number. An ebook coming soon, maybe.
No, because there was a paper only just published recently where they were talking about like high intensity, low volume training. I think it was like Stronger by Science, and I'm like, oh, this is exactly how I train. You guys have just gone and posted about it, so thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just fucking stole your thunder.
yeah, I'm just like, guys, I've been doing it. Like, I know that it
Yep.
works.
Right. One thing I like you mentioned before, talking about that, excel to drive and have that, or I guess always be driven. Is that something that's stuck with you your whole life, or is it something that's developed as you've gotten older? Or
I would say that it's probably been my entire life, to be honest.
Mm.
Um, maybe not so much academically,
Yep.
because in high school, like, I don't know even who likes high school. I think most kids hate high school.
Mm.
So prior to that, not really, but then after high school, once I grew up maybe a little bit, then absolutely, yeah. but I had kids relatively young. Like I had my first kid when I was 18. So from that point, it was kind of like, okay, well, time to be an adult. Let's, grow up a little bit and start working hard.
And how old are you now?
33.
Oh, mate, I thought you were
33 years young.
Yeah, that is young. Bit of salt and pepper in that beard, though.
It's that this is children, by the way.
Yeah.
Everyone watching, listening, this Grays, it's children.
I can't
If
imagine.
you want to look youthful, don't have kids.
So was powerlifting early for you? When was your first exposure to it? When did you come across it as a sport or even just a training modality?
And on the back of that, when did you realize you were fucking good at it?
Yeah.
So I first started training when I was 18. So, well, I say when I was 18. I think most young guys were bench pressing in their early teenage years. Like I know that I certainly was. I was just training biceps and triceps and bench press. And then I joined a gym when I was 18 because I got fucking fat. So when the kid's mum was pregnant, I was like sympathy eating and I gained a bunch of weight. And then I didn't realize I was fat. Someone told me I was fat. So I joined a gym.
Oh, ouch.
Right. So then the first gym I joined up at is a little gym in Adelaide called Fox's Gym. And they've been there forever. But it was a powerlifting gym. So there's like a powerlifting gym in Adelaide, which no one knows is a powerlifting gym because, well, I don't know, like they're not really involved in the sport too much anymore, and they definitely weren't back then. But they were like originally like a PA gym, so they had like moved away from PA. I didn't know what like powerlifting was, got introduced to it immediately, and then like I probably hadn't been training for too long, and then I realized that I was strong. I think at the time. I think like maybe the biggest squat, this is 2008, someone could quote me on it, 2008, 2009, I reckon the 82.5 kilo squat record, which I didn't realize was single ply at the time, because that's all they had was equipped, the sleeves didn't fucking exist, right? So I think it would have been around like 240, and I think at the time my 1RM was maybe 200, 210. And that was like a high bar because I didn't know what a low bar squat was. So I started training at this powerlifting gym, and like I think the guy that owned the gym didn't like that I was really strong. So I just like walked in and like I don't know, it felt like a matter of weeks, and I was squatting like 140 for like sets of 10.
Fuck.
It didn't feel like it wasn't actually that long, but I pushed really hard, and then I remember hitting like maybe like 210, 215 or something. And then
raw.
I hurt my back. Yeah, raw, like bare knees, like high bar, like just no idea what I was doing. I just remember seeing like people squatting. Like I was watching videos of weightlifters squatting. I wasn't watching videos of powerlifters squatting. And it would have been horrendous. Like the technique would have been shit. My deadlift technique is definitely shit. So yeah, that's probably like the first time I was actually exposed to powerlifting as a sport. It was just from the get-go. But I didn't actually compete until 2014 because at the time I was like, I want to get this. I wanted to compete in PA because I was like, I want to hit that squat record. I'm like, I reckon I can beat it. And then the guy that owned the gym talked me out of it because he was like, nah, they're all on drugs. He's like, they say that they're drug tested, but they're all on drugs. He's like, don't go do it. But like, this is where the South Australian Drug-Free Powerlifting Association, it's got like the longest fucking acronym ever. Like all these guys that didn't like PA created this fed.
Oh wow.
But I didn't really want to go out to compete in the Riverland against no one, so it just didn't sound that fun.
Yeah, right. And then it just snowballed from there.
Pretty much, yeah. Like I just kept on trained 531 for a long time. And then eventually, when I did my first comp, did like a novice comp at Fuzzies.
Oh wow.
Do you remember the numbers?
Like it would have been like low 500, and then I did a sanctioned meet, which you can probably see that's probably on Open Powerlifting. I reckon. I think I totaled maybe like 610, 612.
Yeah, right.
Whoa. Just a sneaky 100 on your total.
Yeah, but then like that same year, I did Pro Raw 6 and I totaled 730. So
fuck.
Oh shit! But, there's another 120.
Well, the main thing it's just that like that comp, my first sanctioned meet, I was still squatting high bar.
Of course.
because I didn't know what a low bar squat was. So when I went
Yep.
from like, well, I think I squatted maybe like 220, I think, high bar, and then I hit like 277.5 low bar at Pro Raw 6.
Yeah, wow.
So
And when did
yeah,
you start off pulling sumo, or were you originally conventional? Because I mean, back in the day, that's what, especially in the era where you started lifting, it was pretty much just conventional. Um, but for those, I think you've pulled 365 at Pro Raw 11.
no, the most I've pulled at Pro Raw was 350.
Right.
I've never had to pull more than 350 to win. Like, you can see that I've only ever done what I've needed to win,
Yeah.
right? So
Mad.
like, you can see that I pulled 350, and they're like, oh well, there was a lot more in that, but there
Yep.
was really never any point in pulling more because I didn't need it. Um,
Yep.
But yeah, I did my first. I think I did all like even my first novice comp was sumo
Yeah.
because
Right.
I used to get really bad. Like I pulled conventional for years, but my back would always hurt for like days after, and it was
Yeah.
just because like I just had really shitty like control of my pelvis, so I'd always end up in this like posterior pelvic tilt, just huge amount of
Nice.
lumbar flexion, and
Good.
just not great. Um, well, just to be clear, there's no bad posture. It's just
Yeah.
like obviously like the tissue tolerance was not as high as it should have been,
Yep.
and for me
Yep.
it was causing pain, so I changed to sumo.
Yep. Yep.
And now I've just been pulling
Damn.
sumo the entire time.
Yeah, man. I mean, it
What?
was probably a good change. Like, you fucking pulled 350 at like, because Pro Raw, did you compete under 80 or under 90s?
So I've competed at Pro Raw 6 times, and
Mm.
I've obviously won 6 times. So the first three I did at 80, and then the second three I did under 95. I think only one of those 95s I weighed over 90, and the other two I cut to. I made sure I was under 90 for them.
Yeah, far out. That
Man.
is so crazy and so impressive. Again, like 2 hour weigh-ins, which again you may have been used to considering you start in that PA realm.
I never ended up competing
Oh
PA.
right,
It was
yeah,
always the
okay,
plan, but I never competed PA.
Yep.
No, I was just fucking mental. Like, don't ask me how I did it. Like, I cut to 82.5 earlier this year because one of my clients was talking about beating like the all-time Aussie squat record at 82, which was my squat.
Yep.
And I was like, well, no, fuck you. I'm just going to go and set it higher. So I did. So it's now 340 at 82.5, just so everyone knows.
Damn.
But yeah, like I cut to under 80 all 3 times, and I think the most I cut for one of them, actually it was when I totaled 800. So Pro Raw 7, I cut 11 kilos. I was weighing at 91, and I cut to 80.
and you still won.
Do not recommend. I highly advise against it. Just so people know, I was clearly
Yep.
mentally unwell. Like, how the fuck did I do that? Like, I cut like 3.5 kilos this year to compete at 82.5, and I'm like, that sucked. I'm like, I felt like 3.5 kilos. Like, how the fuck did I do 11 kilos? What was going through my head at that time?
I'm just gonna circle back to that
Jesus.
340 at 82 kilos. I just did some quick math. That's
That's insane.
4.14 times body weight.
Yeah, and I missed the
That's a
355
lot.
squat at that comp.
Oh.
On like strength or depth or call.
Just technique. Like, I misgrew. Like,
Yeah.
you could, if we're gonna like just be very true, you could say it was strength, but
Yep.
for me
Yep.
watching it, I know that like a very slight change in bar position
Yep.
meant that I wasn't able to correct it.
I mean, when you're
Yeah.
like handling nearly again 4.2 times body weight, the slight bar placement takes a massive toll on what your position looks like, what you look like in the hole. So very understandable. Bro, that is so strong. Is there anyone else? Do you know of anyone who's come close to that sort of percentage body weight?
In Australia,
Yeah.
the only person that could do that is Christos.
Yep.
Literally the only person.
Right. Has he done it?
Yeah, I think he's hit. Fuck, don't want to quote me on it. I know in comp, maybe not in training. He's hit 325 at 75.
320.
327.5.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That is, man. What do you guys do down in South Australia? Fuck.
Yeah.
Honestly, we just fucking train hard.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to Christos about this just recently, and we just trained hard. Like back in
Yep.
2014, 2015, like the gym environment was very different. Like the gym environment now, like I feel like social media has had a positive influence in some aspects, and then in others, it's like people just come in and it's just this fucking like it's just this circle jerk ego thing where everyone just wants to lift heavy all the time, right? Because it looks good for the gram. Whereas back then, like we used to do like disgusting amounts of volume, and it's just like sets on sets on sets. Like we would do like 5 sets of low bar squats, followed by like 5 sets of high bar squats, and followed by like maybe 5 sets of front squats. Like we were just doing that. We were hitting like maybe between 20 to 30 sets of squats a week, right? And like
Fuck.
work sets, not fucking like warm ups, like actual work sets, probably hitting like about that a week, and then maybe 10 to 15 sets of deadlifts a week as well.
And was the
Jesus.
volume of the volume? So the intensity been high or?
Yeah, like we were just fucking cooked. So we'd be doing like 5 by. It was very straight, like linear periodization. We'd do like 5 by 12, so like 12s for 2 weeks, and then 10s, and then 8s.
Yep.
But like every set was fucking hard, and that was because like we all trained like that. So like just the environment, like everyone came in, we all supported each other. There was like no ego. It was like, oh, fucking they're piss weak. We're not going to talk to them. It's like we were all doing the same thing. Like we'd all be squatting together. Like wouldn't matter who was under the bar. Like plates would come off, plates would go on. And
Oh
you'd
man,
just...
well, we were literally talking about that the other day. Like obviously,
Fuck.
it's like I think Johnny, your community, it still does this a lot, and I think it's great. But not many people I've noticed now are willing. If they're squatting like 300, are willing to rip all those plates off and let those little, not the little guys, that's the wrong word, but, people work in with them because, I've got to change the plates. Man, like, that was the best part of training, like, back in the day. And we said this last week, man, that was the golden age of powerlifting in Australia. Because people trained hard,
like,
not just for themselves, but the people around them.
Way less time taking videos of lifts.
Yeah. Yeah, way less time setting up your camera and all that. Like, it was just grunge training. And I want to put, like, please correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, but all that work you did back in 2014, 2015, and even up until that point, all that disgusting volume has given you the right now to not have to do that volume and allow you to pull those heavy singles because you've just had so much time under a bar perfecting skill so you can do 1 or 2 sets.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I spent like what would realistically a short amount of time, like a few years, doing all of that work from a skill acquisition point of view where I don't have to do that now. Whereas like current lifters, in my opinion, from what I've seen, they don't want to do that much volume.
No.
So like the time that it takes for them to develop the skill is going to take a lot longer because they're not getting anywhere near as much exposure to like the actual skill of moving with a fucking bar because they're like, oh, well, I only want to do 3 sets because 5 sets is fucking hard, or I'm too tired. Well, like I vomited. It's like fucking so what, man? Like I would vomit in the middle of a fucking workout and I'd go back in the gym and I'd get back under the bar and I'd keep going.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that like that's necessary for like for you to make progress, but that there's definitely merit in like from a skill acquisition point of view being able to get that amount of work in.
100%, and I think it's taken for granted these days. And as you said, and I'm wondering, like, you spoke about the social media aspect briefly, but like, and yes, it has a lot of positives. Like, you can't disagree. But do you think the influence on social media and being able to promote all this new research and stuff and all these things have just given people a reason to, for lack of a better word, excuse themselves from doing volume?
Absolutely. I generally try to keep up with most of the evidence and the literature around strength training. And yeah, like there's always more evidence coming out to say that you can get results with less training. And I think that a lot of people take that and they run with it and they're like, okay, sick. Like this says that I don't have to do that much work. So I'm going to do the least amount of work possible. And whether or not they realize it consciously, subconsciously, it's they're still doing it. And whether it's like the coach's fault or it's the lifter's fault, it's like who really takes responsibility here? Because I know that I've tried to give my clients large amounts of volume like I used to do myself,
And they
and
don't want
they
it.
don't respond. They don't respond well to it. They don't want to do it. They're like, "This is too hard,"
Yep.
and I'm like, "Well, can I fucking say to my client, well, I think you're being weak. I think you're being, you know,
Sometimes you might like to.
like but like sometimes you want to, but
Mm,
it's difficult because you want to try and like manage the person effectively and make sure that you're supporting them and communicating in a way that they feel supported and it's going to help
yep.
lead them towards like the outcome that they're seeking. But at the same time,
Yep.
like the powerlifter in me wants to be like, get the fuck back under the bar. I don't give a fuck if you threw
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Like, let's get this shit done.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
come into the gym and you see me training, like, do you see me making fucking excuses? No.
Mm.
Like, I'm working
Mm,
fucking 10 times as hard as you are, and I'm not making, a bunch of noise. I'm not huffing and puffing. Like, I'm not taking 10 minutes rest between, my sets. Like, I'm just getting the
Yep.
shit done.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
sucks. I might make a sound because it hurts, and I keep going.
Mm. I like
But
to say, don't bring me a 5-day a week training goal if you're only going to do 3 days a week training.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's literally
and
that.
it's just like, with a lot of my clients, I only put them on 3 days of training because when they come to me, they're training like 5-6 days a week. I'm like, okay, well, what do those 5-6 days look like? How long are you in the gym for? They're like, oh, 2-3 hours. I'm like, so you're in the gym for 15 hours a week, right? Sweet. Like, I'm gonna strip it back to 3 days, and they're like, oh, I don't know about that. And I'm just like, well, let's just give me 4 weeks. Give me 4 weeks, train 3 days. You tell me how you go. Guarantee end of 4 weeks. I've had 100 times out of 100, every single person has said, man, I can't wait to go into the gym and I'm training with so much more intensity. It's like, yeah, you fucking are, because you went in before every single day and you loathed going in there. So you took your time, you piss farted about, and you didn't train with any level of intensity. And now that you've actually got the desire to go to the gym because I've taken it away from you so frequently, you're like, I just want to go in and fucking smash it.
Makes sense. It honestly, and not even just from that 3 sessions is going to be so much more, and not just intensity wise, but every rep and every set's going to actually be more meaningful and have that intent behind it.
Yeah. And from a skill acquisition point of view, what do we need? We need it to be meaningful. Like, it actually, principles of neuroplasticity, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, salience matters. So it actually has to be meaningful to the person. So, you can support that with neuroscience.
And can you explain that more for our listeners, please? Because I think that is very much, it's something that every lifter should be more aware of, is how we actually create skill and the neuroplasticity point.
So, like, there are multiple principles of plasticity of like how your brain will create new neural pathways, right? So, from a skill acquisition point of view, we need to look at like repetition. We need to look at frequency, intensity, and then, like I said before, salience matters. Those are probably the most important ones for us. And then there's also environment as well. So the environment can also have a huge influence on your ability to learn something or to create a new neural pathway, which is why training in powerlifting gyms, for all those training at a commercial gym, training in a powerlifting gym can actually be really beneficial because you don't just get the skill acquisition from performing the movement yourself, you also get this visual feedback of observing people moving, which is why, like, if you're someone like me who spends a long time watching people move and like you're looking at all these videos on Instagram, it actually can be really helpful because it's going to help you learn. And then when you start to think about yourself moving, you can spend time visualizing the way that you move, visually performing a rep. That's also going to contribute to skill acquisition. But like I said, one of the most important things is the goal needs to be meaningful. So unless like you're actually committed to it and it holds value for you, you're probably not going to create a new neural pathway because it doesn't mean anything to you. Your brain doesn't have a reason
to actually do it.
Rewire it.
That's so crazy though. Like I've always been not I guess shocked or amazed that we can just watch someone do the movement and we can get a little bit better at it just from that perception of them doing it and understanding what they're doing differently.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely research to show that like visualizing a movement yourself, and I'll give you like just basic anecdote of myself. Like literally one night dreaming about bench press, and I woke up and I'm like, man, I reckon I can use my lats heaps better in my bench press. And I'm like, middle of the night, I had a home gym. It would have been like 2 a.m. I got up, I went outside, got under the bar and unracked it. And I'm like, fuck yes, that worked. And it was just that sensation. So like that kinesthetic awareness that I had in my dream, and then coming out and then going into the gym and being like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, that's exactly what I want. But that visualization, that like, you know, using your imagination to think about how something moves and how something should feel, it actually can work when it comes to applying that to the practical skill.
That's the coolest dream I've ever heard.
That's
yeah,
a
I
nice
used to
dream.
do lots of dumb shit. Like I would dream of I'm slightly less obsessed about it now, and my brain's more physio.
Yep.
But peak powerlifting, like most of the time I would dream about squatting, I would dream about deadlifting, I'd dream about bench pressing, and a lot of the time I'd get up in the middle of the night and like I'd be standing at the end of my bed, like getting into my sumo stance, thinking about my position. So like, you know, people will see like you go into the gym and you train for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long you are. But majority of the time that like outside of the gym, I was always visualizing movement. I was always thinking about how something should feel, how I could make it better.
That's so cool.
Even when I was working, like it was actually really bad.
Oh.
Like just obsessively thinking about it. And I had actually had one of my clients ask me recently, they're like, oh, what does it take to be, you know, like an elite powerlifter? How do you be the best? And it's like, you honestly just need to be fucking obsessed.
Yeah.
Like you need to, and it's not, you don't want to have obsession to the point where like it starts to negatively impact your life. But at the same time, like if you want to excel at something, you want to be the best at anything, that you are going to have to become obsessed with it and just always think about it, always be doing something to work towards achieving that goal.
100%.
Otherwise, like
you hit the nail on the head.
If you don't put in all of that effort, right? Yeah.
You just hit the nail on the head. You have to be obsessed. Like it, and unfortunately, some people just don't want to, because obsession creates imbalance, and some people just crave balance, which is fine. But if you say you want something and you just know something's gonna have to sacrifice at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, you just need to make sacrifices that you're going to be comfortable with. Like, in 10 years from now, 15, 20 years, are you going to be able to look back and say, I was happy with the sacrifices that I made? Yes or no? And I think if that's something that you can answer the question to be like, yes, then fucking do it. And if you're going to sit there and say, well, actually, I don't know if I'd be able to make that sacrifice, then don't.
That's a really good question to ask yourself.
How many times I took my kids, because like I have shared custody, right? Well, not anymore. My kids live with me full time, but previously I had shared custody. So there would be times that I would take my kids to the gym with me, and I'd like set them up with like a fucking iPad or a computer, or and give them their snacks, and I'd be squatting, I'd be deadlifting. Yep. My kids would just be sitting there like keeping themselves entertained because I was so fucking obsessed, right? And at the time, my kids were probably a little bit bored, but like I made sure that I did what I could to spend quality time with them afterwards. But I never let anything get in the way of my training ever. It wouldn't matter if I finished like a night shift and it was like I finished work at 7 a.m. I'd fucking go to the gym. Nothing would stop me from training.
But also, like it's created what you do now. So looking back, like, do you have any regrets with that period?
No, not at all. No. I think that without having done that, it wouldn't have helped create the pathway to where I am now.
Yep.
So without having done all that work, without having made those sacrifices, because even like excelling at powerlifting and then becoming obsessed with movement, like I might not have returned to, I might not have moved on to coaching. I might not have decided to then go back to uni to, do a master's of physiotherapy. Like all of those things will contribute to my decision as to, the career path that I've chosen.
100%.
Towards.
I mean, what you've done now, what you've created with the Strength Lab is just absolutely incredible. And going back to uni, so my follow-up question to that is, what's the mission now? What are you working towards?
That's a hard question to answer because like I have things that I want to achieve, but at the same time, like, I don't want to become like a coach that becomes dogmatic in their approach and is just like, narrow-minded. So I think that going back to uni and wanting to become like a physiotherapist is like, I don't want to like pigeonhole myself into one way of thinking or just working with one demographic. So I think that ideally long-term, I would like to just keep working with powerlifters, but working with strength athletes or athletes in general. But then also just like everyday people as well, because they still need help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because I just see the value in strength training for improving people's quality of life. But I don't want to be. I can't see myself becoming like a influencer coach or someone that's like sits up here or what I would consider to be sitting up here as far as someone that people look up to or go to for information, because one of the most common answers I always have is just like, well, it depends. Like, yeah, that's probably the best answer that I could give you as far as like direction and goal.
But what I like
really.
What I really like about that though is like it keeps you more relatable as a coach. It keeps you like you never lose sight of the fact that, as you said, like you want to coach athletes, you want to coach general people as well, but that's what creates a really good coaching relationship. That's what's going to create change, is that connection to the people.
Yeah. Well, I had like an ex-client message me the other day, and they were like, "Oh, hey Pat, like, my body's going really well because I have like chronic back issues, right?" And they're like, "Oh, I feel like I'm almost in a good spot, and I want to get back into powerlifting." And I was like, "Why? Like, why? Like, is this going to make you happy? Because if it's going to make you happy, then absolutely, I'll support it. Like, I'll take you back on as a client. I'll coach you. But like, is this actually what you want? Is this actually going to, bring you joy? Is this what you want, or is it just you feel like you had things that were left unfinished?" Because at the end of the day, like, I'm always just going to try and support, the person to achieve goals that are going to be meaningful for them, and is actually going to help make them happy, rather than just beating the same drum. And if it's not working anymore, then why do it?
Mate, definitely another question I think a lot of people need to ask themselves before they take on an endeavor.
Pat, wondering, what other coaches and athletes have you followed and drawn influence from in your time over the years as well, bro?
From coaches, it's a tough one because like I start saying names and people are like, "Oh, so you agree with everything they say?" And it's like, no, like there are coaches that I follow that I'll take bits and pieces from. That I like what they have to say, but then I don't necessarily agree with everything that they say. So if I have to give names, there would be Jordan Shallow. Obviously, I really like Jordan. I like pretty much everything that he posts. So he's definitely had an influence on the way that I operate. But then, who else? Can't think of a name right now.
I think like
Eric
Jordan's
Cressy.
a pretty good name.
Jordan and Eric Cressy are fucking two big names. I don't think Eric Cressy gets the recognition he did.
Eric Cressy.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, but he's brilliant. He's super smart, and I think that like a lot of people really undervalue him. And it may not necessarily be that like they undervalue him, but they just don't see the application to powerlifting. But I think that if people take off their powerlifting hat for just a minute and just think about the way that we move in general, they might actually get something useful from listening to him. And then there's other people that I follow that some things they say go like, so I also listen to Bill Hartman a lot. Some things I understand what he says, other things goes completely over my head because he's just so fucking smart. But yeah, they're probably the main people. And then as far as athletes are concerned, it's probably the direct opposite of the coaches. So like I follow coaches and get inspiration from people that I would consider to be like intellectual, and then athletes are just dumb people that work fucking hard. Like you can just see them and they're just workhorses. And I think that's like the perfect balance. You need to have a certain amount of intelligence when you come into your training and thought, and then you just need to be able to work hard. So, but if we're looking at powerlifters that I might have looked to for inspiration, probably be like KK, RIP KK.
Okay, real quickly, I want to stop you. This is what's wrong with the generation of powerlifters today. They have no idea who KK is.
Do you know what the worst part about powerlifters today is? Powerlifters, even when KK was KK, right?
Yeah.
People did my fucking head in because they'd be like ripping on CrossFit, right? And I hate people ripping on CrossFit because it's just like, it just shows their ignorance. I'm not sure if you guys ripped on CrossFit, so I'm just saying. ripping on CrossFit just shows like a certain level of ignorance. I just like, just please just shut up, right? People used to rip on kipping pull-ups all the time, and the argument I would always throw back at them is just, okay, motherfucker, you go on YouTube right now and go Google KK doing kipping pull-ups. Dude fucking did 55 kipping pull-ups at like 150 kilos body weight, right? And he pulls over 400 beltless. And then he says in that video, in his broken English, that he only does kipping pull-ups because it's the best thing for his back and for his grip. Now, if one of the strongest motherfuckers, baddest men to walk the fucking planet, says, I only do kipping pull-ups, like, are you really going to go and stand there and say that kipping pull-ups are bad? Shut the fuck up and get out of here. Go do some kipping pull-ups. You're weak.
Yep.
That's amazing. 55 kipping pull-ups at 150 kilos body weight.
Yeah, the man was a
Jesus
beast.
Christ.
He was an absolute beast. And then I used to like obsessively watch probably Andrei Belyev and Konstantin Pozdiv deadlifting. I'm not sure if you, Brandon, you should know. I'm not sure if you both know who they are, but if your listeners don't know, go and Google them. Like, their deadlifts were beautiful.
Flawless looking sumos.
Yep. Yeah, they were just impeccable. And then there's like obvious ones like Dan Green. Dan Green's an absolute workhorse.
Oh, he's a freak.
And the thing is, like, if you look at Dan Green's training throughout time, like, if you're actually smart and you actually pay attention to what he does, you can see the wave loading through his training. I'm just like, again, goes back to that thing I was saying about 531. 531 is wave loading. So if we just remove the name and we just look at what it is, it's like, you can't say that wave loading doesn't work because lots of people do it. Dan Green does it, right?
But I like what you said about it as well. Like, it's how you apply those programs.
Yeah, it's literally any program. You can have like the best program and shit application. That's not going to get you anywhere. But yeah, they're probably like the main people.
Yep.
That's some very good people in that list there.
I'm gonna have to like put up show notes in the show notes, like links to all these people for our listeners to really get appreciation of that fucking KK. I just remember that video of like him pulling 420, just being like, wow. I think it was at a WRPF Worlds.
There's a video of him and just like pulls down his soft suit and he's not because beltless, and he just like starts smacking himself. He's like, "This is my belt."
Yeah, he was fucking great and a character of the sport. Those big personalities that we just miss, I think.
And he was just so strong. There's like other videos of him doing like really heavy kettlebell swings, but he's using like plates. Because obviously you don't have kettlebell. So like there's videos of him doing like swings. There's videos of him doing like heavy weighted ab rollouts with like 120 kilos or something. Like the dude was just a beast. So
Jesus.
He was the epitome of just being strong everywhere and resilient.
Yeah. And keyword resilient. It's like you need to have psychological resilience and physical resilience, right? But like you can't have one without the other, I think.
100%.
You definitely can't have physical without the psychological, and maybe that's also undervalued in this sport.
Oh, agreed. I think I could definitely agree with that. Like, it's definitely a different mental attitude towards training compared to. I mean, I got into the sport around 2014, and it's very different.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But look, I know we don't want to take up too much of your time. I know. We've got 10.
It's time.
Yeah, we got 10. Did you write them down?
Yeah, because I'm not on my laptop, so I had to handwrite it. Only I can interpret this language that's on here.
Bro.
Can you read that? That's your first question there, Pat.
Yeah, nobody can read your handwriting, bro, with all love and respect. But we've got 10 very random questions, Pat. They're supposed to be like rapid fire, but again, it's Johnny, so you get random, thought-provoking ones. So, Johnny, take it away.
Are aliens real, Pat?
Yes.
What's your favorite kids TV show, either to watch now as an adult or as a kid?
As a kid, X-Men. As an adult, Adventure Time.
Adventure Time? I don't know.
You don't know what Adventure Time is?
No, I do not. I feel like it could be in my future.
To be honest, you're like 10 years older than both of us, bro. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Now, Patrick, you're about to start a podcast. Who was going to be your first guest?
My physiotherapist. His name's Patrick O'Leary.
Another pad. I like it. Favorite school memory?
Oh shit. Oh no, I got suspended a lot.
Oops. So
Try-
maybe the things that caused the suspension were the fun things.
Yeah, probably those. Like I remember throwing a whiteboard eraser at someone's head, and I got suspended for that. That was funny.
That is pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's your favorite thing to watch on YouTube at the moment?
The only thing I watch on YouTube at the moment are my clients' training videos. So that
Nice. Current small term goal you have for the year? Anything come to mind?
squat 400.
oof.
Next weekend? Could you do it next weekend?
It's not going to be it's not going to be next weekend, but hopefully it's going to be October.
I like it. What animal do you want to eat next?
Like, is this like realistic?
Yeah.
Or
You can eat any animal you
Okay,
like.
well, no.
I'm literally going to eat some chicken soon. So a chicken.
Chicken, yummy, yummy. What are you saving your pocket money for?
Like I don't know, a bigger house.
Nice, bigger house is good.
At all.
I'm gonna give you a billboard for one day. What would you like to put on this billboard?
The Australian activity guidelines.
Oh, yeah.
Minimum activity guidelines.
Yeah, wow, that's really good.
A lot of people could learn from that one, I think.
I think so. It'd be highly valuable.
Family tradition. What's your favorite family tradition?
My family, dark humor, going to prison.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Was that the 10?
That's it.
Mate, I was actually going to ask you after the 10, like, what your your next goals or your big goals are for powerlifting, because you definitely don't look unfinished. You said the 400 squat. I am so excited that I've got clients competing in that October comp, so I can be witness to that. What about squat, bench, total? Like, where do you want to see a squat? No, you said squat. It's deadlift, bench, total. Where do you want to see it?
For October or just in general?
Let's go both, because now I'm very interested.
So for October, for everyone listening, my goals are to squat 402.5 at 90. That would be the all-time world record squat. Bench, I haven't really been benching because I sort of did my shoulder a little mischief, so I probably won't start benching until like 5 weeks out from the meet if I can. And then deadlift, I would like to pull 400 in training before comp. Whether like that will be with straps, because I just don't think I'm going to have the grip strength to pull it. So realistically, maybe 370 plus.
Shit.
I just want to just say, like, you're really strong. Like the understatement ever, biggest understatement ever. That's insane. Long term, do you see yourself going over the ton?
I was actually thinking about this today, and my goal, long-term goal previously, I wanted to total 1,000 at 100.
Yep.
But I just don't know if I can be fucked, to be honest. There's like, if I squat and pull 400 this year, maybe I'll just be like, oh, that's enough. I'm satisfied.
Yep.
But who knows? I might change my mind. Someone might come along and just push me just that little bit that I need to be like, okay, fuck it, I'm just going to try and do it.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Let's go.
Do you reckon you could do 1,090?
I think I could do mid-9s
Yep.
at 90. I don't know if I would go 1,090.
What's your body weight now?
Not John Hack. About 90.
Yeah.
It was a bit lower, but I've been slightly more sedentary than usual. So about 90 kilos.
Thick 90 kilos, bro.
A beautiful 90 with an excellent beard.
Thank you.
You know what, though? I think the last comp I saw you at was probably Breakthrough last year. And look, I really like the salt and pepper development that's happened in that time.
Oh, it's always salt and pepper. This is always there. It's just when it's shorter, you don't notice it.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, because it's really come along. I like it.
Yeah.
For all those our fans not watching, just jump on the YouTube to see a very handsome, fucking thick boy. You know what though? I think if people to get appreciation of just how thick you are, just turn side on and just look at how thick your back is.
Turn side on.
Yeah, look, it is just the thickest.
Damn.
Yeah, you can see his erectors through his shirt, bro.
Damn.
Yeah.
Need some of those.
I just realized why I'm not as strong as Pat. That's right. Yeah.
Need those things.
You need big legs and a big back, and then you're sweet. Like, you don't have to have big arms. My arms are tiny. It hasn't got in the way of anything, except maybe having a big bench. But like, that's relative, I guess.
You do have you've benched over 180, haven't you?
I've benched 180 in comp at 82.5.
Did you say you didn't have a big bench? I just got confused.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's a big bench. Like, unless you're benching over 200, it's small.
Mate, Johnny's just dropped off again. I don't know what's going on with his internet, but we will wrap up, bro. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day. Like, again, going back to how busy you are, I know it's just part of your day, but for us, we really appreciate it. And I know our listeners can definitely learn a lot from just what you do and just your intensity that you train at, man. So thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. It was nice to have a chat. And
absolutely, man. And I'm
hopefully
sure
give people a little bit of insight.
Yeah, man, I think our listeners will get a lot out of that, and we'll definitely catch up in October at the comp. And for our listeners, I'll put up obviously your Instagram and everything, the Strength Lab and your training one, your personal one, sorry, up in our show notes so people can follow along. Because no doubt, leading into October, bro, it is going to be insane what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's good. Just watch my Instagram. You'll see. I'm not going to hide anything. It'll all be there.
Yeah.
I've already told everyone what my goals are.
It's already out there now.
Yeah, that's it. Nothing to hide.
Oh, mate, thank you so much, man. This will come out in a couple of weeks, and we'll let you know for sure.
Sweet. Sounds good.
No worries, man. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.